Things continue to heat up behind the scenes for the Los Angeles Rams. And get ready, because in the coming weeks, we'll almost certainly have some big news. Man, there are still a few unresolved issues that the Rams front office needs to deal with. And Alaric Jackson is one of them. The season is getting closer, and fans are eagerly waiting to find out who will fill the left tackle position. But have you ever stopped to think that things could take a sudden turn at any moment, and he could end up staying with the Rams? I want to hear from you. Do you think Alaric Jackson should stay? Or do you think it's better to look for a replacement? Leave your opinion in the comments. It's very important. Either way, if you're a die-hard Los Angeles Rams fan, smash that like button and write, "Go Rams! My heart bleeds blue, white, and gold." Now, let's talk a little more about this story. An important update has emerged regarding Jackson's legal situation. According to the latest information discussed during a team Q&A session, Jackson will not face felony charges. Although misdemeanor charges are still part of the picture, the fact that the felony charges have been dropped represents a significant development and changes the discussion surrounding his future availability. For Rams fans trying to understand what this means for the left tackle position, the update certainly points in a more favorable direction. However, it does not completely close the matter. The key detail here is that the NFL operates under its own standards when evaluating player conduct. Even if the legal process moves in a positive direction for Jackson, the league still has the authority to conduct its own investigation. That means the NFL could ultimately determine whether there was any violation of its personal conduct policy, regardless of what happens in court. Because of that, there is still uncertainty surrounding Jackson's situation. The latest update is undoubtedly better news than many feared when the story first emerged, but it does not automatically guarantee that there will be no punishment from the league. The situation remains something Rams fans will need to monitor closely as more information becomes available. What makes this particularly noteworthy is the importance of the left tackle position itself. Whenever questions arise about a starting offensive lineman, especially at such a valuable position, fans naturally begin to wonder about the potential impact on the roster as a whole. At this stage, however, the main takeaway is simple. Jackson has avoided felony charges, but the NFL's review process remains a relevant factor. While Jackson's situation has attracted a lot of attention, another topic is generating major discussion involving two players who are expected to have a huge influence on the identity of the Rams' defense: Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie. The discussion began with an interesting question about whether the presence of these two players could transform the defense into a more matchup-oriented unit, rather than one strictly tied to a fixed system. The response offered an insightful look into how the defense may be structured moving forward. The central idea is not necessarily that the Rams will reinvent themselves every week depending on the opponent. Instead, the defense is expected to be built around maximizing what Garrett and McDuffie do best. That distinction is important. Rather than asking elite players to fit into rigid responsibilities, the philosophy appears to be centered on designing the scheme around their strengths. The comparison used during the discussion emphasized this point perfectly. When you acquire a player with elite talent, the objective is not to force him into uncomfortable roles. The objective is to place him in situations where he can dominate. For Garrett, that means creating opportunities that allow him to impact offenses in multiple ways. One of the key observations made was how he was utilized in various pass-rushing alignments previously, creating challenges for offensive protections. That flexibility is expected to remain a major component of his role. Instead of becoming predictable, the defense can use Garrett from different locations, forcing opposing offensive lines to adjust. Every offensive coordinator preparing for the Rams will have to account for where Garrett lines up on any given snap. Those adjustments can create ripple effects throughout an entire game plan. Protection schemes become more complicated. Assignments become more difficult. Offensive linemen must communicate more effectively. Quarterbacks have to identify threats faster. All of that begins with a player who can fundamentally alter how offenses prepare. At the same time, Trent McDuffie is viewed as another foundational piece whose strengths will directly shape the defense. The expectation is that McDuffie will be placed in positions that maximize his physical style of play. Specifically, there was considerable emphasis on allowing him to operate close to the action, where his physicality and ability to challenge receivers can become major assets. Rather than forcing him into situations that minimize those strengths, the belief is that the defensive structure will lean into them. Physical coverage, press situations, aggressive positioning. Those are the types of responsibilities that were highlighted when discussing McDuffie's potential impact. What's especially interesting is that the conversation repeatedly returned to the idea that Garrett and McDuffie are not simply important players within the defense. They may actually become the players who define how the defense is built. That is a very different conversation than merely discussing talent. The suggestion here is that these two players could influence the entire framework of the defense. When coaches evaluate personnel, they often face a choice. They can ask players to conform to a system, or they can adapt the system to fit elite players. The discussion strongly indicated that the Rams intend to take the second approach. If that proves successful, fans could see a defense that emphasizes the specific strengths of its top playmakers rather than asking them to perform roles that don't fully showcase their abilities. Another area where McDuffie's influence surfaced involved the ongoing discussion about the Rams' cornerback room. A question was raised regarding why the team would move away from players such as Kobe Durant and Roger McCreary, instead of simply retaining them as depth pieces. The answer once again connected directly back to the evolving defensive philosophy. The explanation focused heavily on style. The belief is that the Rams are pursuing a different type of cornerback profile than what they previously prioritized. Rather than emphasizing corners who are more comfortable playing off coverage, the apparent direction involves adding more physical defensive backs capable of handling man coverage responsibilities. That shift helps explain why McDuffie is viewed as such a critical acquisition. His style aligns with the type of defensive identity being discussed. The emphasis on physicality, the emphasis on disrupting receivers, the emphasis on aggressive coverage techniques. Those traits appear to fit exactly what the coaching staff wants to establish. As a result, McDuffie's impact may extend beyond his individual performance. He could become a symbol of the broader stylistic transformation taking place within the secondary. And when that conversation is paired with Garrett's influence up front, a clear theme emerges. The Rams appear committed to constructing a defense around the strengths of their premier talent. That approach also ties into comments regarding defensive coordinator Chris Shula. Throughout the discussion, there was recognition that communication and coordination between the coaching staff will remain important. But when evaluating the defensive side specifically, Garrett and McDuffie were repeatedly presented as the players around whom many decisions could revolve. That is why their impact has become one of the most compelling storylines heading into the season. Fans naturally focus on statistics, sacks, interceptions, and highlight plays. Those numbers matter. But what may be even more important is how these players influence the structure of the defense itself. Will offenses have to dedicate extra protection resources toward Garrett? Will receivers face more physical coverage because of McDuffie's presence? Will opposing coordinators be forced to alter their plans simply because of where those two players are aligned? Those are the types of questions that can determine whether a defense merely performs well or becomes a truly difficult unit to attack. For now, Rams fans have two major developments worth monitoring closely. First, the Alaric Jackson situation has taken a positive step forward, with the confirmation that felony charges will not be pursued. However, the NFL's review process means there is still uncertainty regarding potential league action. Second, the growing conversation around Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie suggests that both players could become central pillars of the defensive identity. Rather than simply fitting into an existing system, the expectation is that the defense may increasingly be designed around maximizing what they do best. Those are two storylines with the potential to significantly influence the direction of the Rams moving forward. What do you think about the latest Alaric Jackson update And how impactful do you believe Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie will be on the Rams defense this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this update, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and click the video currently on your screen. That's where you'll find the latest Rams news and updates first. See you there, Rams fans!